early times of organizing human rights over in China when he was working with Reebok, and actually set up a council for the footwear industry that is still an organization that everybody aspires to, and really set the standard on that.
So can you tell us a little bit about what Simple is doing in terms of its green policies, or what it's doing to diminish its effect on the natural environment?
Well, I think Simple in particular is trying to make everything out of sustainable products. I mean, there's even the Green Toe collection that I'm told vegans can eat them. You know, I think they'd be a little chewy, but it is that way. And you know, what's real interesting about it is starting to change a whole industry, the footwear industry, and how things are manufactured, and how factories around the world are looking at footwear. And if you go onto the website and see some of the products, you can see its use of bamboo, its use of hemp, it's natural rubber, it's a lot of recycled stuff. You know, I go down to the toe laces or anything.
Interesting. Thank you. It looks like we have a young man that's coming down to ask a question, please. If you would, sir, stand up.
Hello. All right.
Yeah,
cool.
Thank you.
How you doing? I was just thinking, in terms of your approach globally, a lot of the reading I do nowadays talks about, you know, approaching the international community. The global landscape might be changing. What's your approach to that? What's your response to that? How do you guys engage that community?
Well, I think first off, if you look at branding, and we're into growing global brands, in the world today, it is so small that you have to do it globally. Because the same thing that sells in Beijing sells in New York, sells in San Francisco. And it isn't really a national thing so much as it's almost getting to be big urban centers that direct the world. We are changing our approach, whereas we've used distributors in the past, we're now starting to open up our own stores, if you want to say, in these different urban areas. Last fall, we opened up 2 UGG stores in London, phenomenally successful. They actually had to barricade the streets and line people up around the corner. But with the internet and everything, putting forth a brand and carrying out the branding idea and mission, you really have to do it globally. And it does start within the big cities.
Thank you for your question. Doug, I apologize for maybe an ignorant question, but does Deckers use outsourcing for a lot of its manufacturing, or is all of it done locally? Since about the mid to late 90s, all of it has been done outsourcing. I think one of the things I learned in the early 80s, besides just wanting to own our brand, but you know, go into a tough time, and we went into a real tough time. Leverage is a killer, and I think a lot of people have understood that now. But my idea is I came out of a very difficult time with restructuring, commitments to creditors and everything, was that my ideal company would be a variable expense company. And so if you're involved in building brick and mortar, it can be a drag to you. And so we got rid of our brick and mortar. Now it's just a matter of turning orders into inventory, into receivables, and again into cash. So it's an easier business for me to understand. Where does most of that outsourcing occur? In what country?
Most of it's in China nowadays. Okay. With UGG, we still do a little in Australia and New Zealand, but we've kind of went through their levels of capacity years ago.
Thank you. We have a question over here, please. Melissa.
Yes.
Yes, hi. I'm fascinated by Yvon Chouinard's decision to not take Patagonia public. And one of the things he mentioned, I think the reason why, is because he felt it would limit his ability to give back to the globe and to save the earth and all of that. And I was just wondering how you feel about your company having taken it public, and do you feel limited in that way? Because it doesn't appear that your company is limited in giving back to the environment?
I would actually say the opposite now, and it might have been different many years ago, but I think that now it's actually a plus. And I mean, you have to be fiscally responsible as well, because you do have that fiscal responsibility to the shareholders. However, along with that goes the social responsibility, and obviously with Teva, I mean, we teamed up with the with McGillivray Freeman and the geez, I'm going to get this wrong now. The Water Keepers Alliance,
right.
And doing an IMAC movie on the Grand Canyon. And the visibility of that as water being a finite resource, and how many people that took it to. And we put millions into that. And it's something that I think it is a responsibility of any company, public or private. And you'll have some investors that may not share that view, but then they always have the choice of investing elsewhere. They aren't sharing the same values.
On your webpage, you have a rather lengthy narrative discussing social responsibility, which I found fascinating. My question is how do you, as an American corporation, ensure that human rights for workers in China are not being violated? What kinds of things do you do to ensure that?
It's really just policing them, the same way you police for quality. We have our own organization in China that works with the factories, teaching them how they can do it. They're also very much aware that it helps selling product if they do the right thing, and they want that. The old days of you know, there being a battle between whoever the person who's making it and the person who's buying it is not the way it is. It's very much a partnership, an alliance, and again, the values are all the same. They go up and down the whole cycle there.
So for those individuals that might be interested in becoming involved in international trade or outsourcing work to China, what kinds of advice would you give them? What are some of the challenges or opportunities or things they would need to know in order to make that happen?
I think the first thing is just go there and view the culture. Get to know the people that you're dealing with. You got to know your marketplace, and you have to know who you're dealing with on the production side as well. And the more you know about them and the more you appreciate and respect them, it comes back the same.
Great. I think that's good advice. Thank you. Looks like we have a young lady that has a question for you, Doug.
Hi.
Hello.
My neighbor is actually the president of production for UGG, and we've talked a lot about the international trade as well. And I've always been curious about how to start going about finding a place to get products from in China, how to start a marketing plan there, and to essentially create your products in bulk, because there's some sort of rule that you have to have a minimum of like 100,000 items or something before you can place an order there. So when did you come to the point where you were able to start manufacturing stuff in China?
Well, a couple of things. First off, yep, there are production minimums. However, there are also other factories over there that are a lot smaller that you can get small runs of, that are willing to take the risk, I guess it would be, of a budding entrepreneur, because not all companies are like Nike and have billions of dollars worth of sales, but there are companies that start out small and then become big. I mean, if we looked at, if you want to use either Teva as an example or UGG, both of them were very small when we started. Or Simple, when we started with them, actually Eric Meyer, who is the founder there,